SDG Goal 10 – Reduce inequality within and among countries. Reducing inequalities and ensuring no one is left behind are integral to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Inequality within and among countries is a persistent cause for concern. Despite some positive signs toward reducing inequality in some dimensions, such as reducing relative income inequality in some countries and preferential trade status benefiting lower income countries, inequality still persists. Evidence from developing countries shows that children in the poorest 20% of the populations are still up to 3 times more likely to die before their 5th birthday than children in the richest quintiles. Social protection has been significantly extended globally, yet persons with disabilities are up to 5 times more likely than average to incur catastrophic health expenditures. Despite overall declines in maternal mortality in most developing countries, women in rural areas are still up to 3 times more likely to die while giving birth than women living in urban centers. Up to 30% of income inequality is due to inequality within households, including between women and men. Women are also more likely than men to live below 50% of the median income. Of the 1 billion population of persons with disabilities, 80% live in developing countries. 1 in 10 children is a child with a disability. Only 28% of persons with significant disabilities have access to disability benefits globally, and only 1% in low-income countries. 10.1. By 2030, progressively achieve and sustain income growth of the bottom 40% of the population at a rate higher than the national average. 10.2. By 2030, empower and promote the social, economic and political inclusion of all, irrespective of age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion or economic or other status. 10.3. Ensure equal opportunity and reduce inequalities of outcome, including by eliminating discriminatory laws, policies and practices and promoting appropriate legislation, policies and action in this regard. 10.4. Adopt policies, especially fiscal, wage and social protection policies, and progressively achieve greater equality. 10.5. Improve the regulation and monitoring of global financial markets and institutions and strengthen the implementation of such regulations. 10.6. Ensure enhanced representation and voice for developing countries in decision-making in global international economic and financial institutions in order to deliver more effective, credible, accountable, and legitimate institutions. 10.7. Facilitate orderly, safe, regular and responsible migration and mobility of people, including through the implementation of planned and well-managed migration policies. 10.a. Implement the principle of special and differential treatment for developing countries, in particular least developed countries, in accordance with World Trade Organization agreements. 10.b. Encourage official development assistance and financial flows, including foreign direct investment, to states where the need is greatest, in particular least developed countries, African countries, small island developing states and landlocked developing countries, in accordance with their national plans and programs. 10.c. By 2030, reduce to less than 3% the transaction costs of migrant remittances and eliminate remittance corridors with costs higher than 5%. Extreme income inequality is preventable through investment in quality and equitable education. Increased spending on education is an element to tackle inequality. Quality education should be made central for tackling rising income inequalities in both developed and emerging economics. The 2018 World Inequality Report pointed to the need for public investment in education to tackle existing inequality and to prevent further increases. This is because public spending on education has an immediate impact on income inequality and poverty by redistributing public resources. It can also have a secondary and longer-term impact on inequality through its effects in promoting social mobility and boosting future earnings and opportunities. The expansion of schooling across the developing world has had a particularly profound impact on poverty and inequality. As greater schooling has targeted the most disadvantaged populations, it has had a large impact on inequality. While spending on education is always inequality reducing, expansion in developing countries over the last few decades accounts for much of this. This means that education expanded over the last 15 years. Education is the great engine of personal development. It is through education that the daughter of a peasant can become a doctor, that the son of a mine worker can become the head of the mine, that a child of farm workers can become the president of a great nation. It is what we make out of what we have, not what we are given, that separates one person from another. Significant impact on income inequality across multiple countries, especially in developing and emerging economies. Looking to the future, continuing to tackle inequality in education will put strong downward pressure on income inequality. Continual investment in bringing increased levels of education to more of the population must therefore be central to fighting inequality and poverty.